Hey everyone, Chris here. So I have a short video for you today. I'm going to be introducing a new series where I'm going to be going over every feat in 5th edition and tier ranking them. First, this is the tier chart I'm going to be using. So we have S, A, B, C, D, and F. S is blue, A is green, B is yellow, C is orange, D is red, and F is purple. And I'm also going to be giving every feat a numerical score, which is going to work similarly to the way that I did the racial option tier rankings if you watch that video series. So each trait a feat gives you is going to get a score, then I add them up, and the tier ranking is going to be determined by the total. And here are the general guidelines on how the scoring works. If a trait is super minor, which I call a ribbon, it's going to get anywhere between 1 and 9 points. Example of a minor trait would be like being able to cast a cantrip or getting a skill proficiency. Now, whether it's 1 point or 9 points is subjective, but basically, if you give me, say, the True Strike cantrip, it'll be worth 1. If you give me any cantrip I want, well, that's worth 9. And if a trait is okay, but not super impactful, it's going to be scored in the 10 to 19 range. So if you give me expertise in a skill, well, that would be in this range. Most first or second level spells would be in this range as well. Whether you can cast them again with your own spell slots or whether you can choose your casting ability, that will play a factor as well. Though, if you let me cast Misty Step, for example, the casting ability isn't going to matter, so it wouldn't impact the score. If a trait is pretty good, it's going in the 20 to 29 point range. An ability score bonus is in this range. So you give me +1 to any ability score, that's 25 points. If you're going to let me choose between 3 ability scores, then it's 23 points because I'm getting less customization. If you're letting me choose from 2 abilities, it's 22. And if you don't let me choose at all, that would be worth 20. And if a trait is quite good, it's going in the 30 to 39 point range. Like if you give me advantage on concentration saves, that's going to get points within this range. And if a trait is top of the line, it's going to get anywhere from 40 to 50 points. That trait has to be really good to get this score. So then, after putting them in order, I've arranged to give them a fairly even spread amongst the rankings. It's not going to be exactly even because that would have required splitting up feats that had tied scores, and that wouldn't make any sense at all. But every tier is going to end up with between 16 and 19 feats in it, so fairly even. S is going to have the fewest, and ranks B and C are going to have the most. So we're going to be skewing a bit towards the middle ranks, which I'm pretty good with. And I should mention, just in case you're wondering, I'm not scoring prerequisites. So the prerequisite of a feat are not going to affect the ranking at all. I consider doing that, but it's extremely difficult to assign point scores for prerequisites. And besides, I figure if you don't meet the prerequisites, then you're probably not considering the feat in the first place, so I think going with no score for them makes the most sense. You meet the prerequisites, well then you already have the prerequisite. And some feats give you options, and those options aren't always equal. For example, the Fighting Initiate feat allows you to select a fighting style, and fighting styles are definitely not all equivalent in terms of power. And in cases like that, I'm mainly looking at the most powerful option, so in this case, I'd be looking at the Archery fighting style, though I added a few bonus points for the ability to customize, as well as the ability to switch out your choice later on. And another thing I should mention is that although scoring traits this way is consistent, like choosing a +1 ability score from 2 options is worth 22 points no matter what feat it's attached to, the scores themselves are subjective. So this is all based on my personal opinions, and I am going to do my best to explain why I have those opinions. But if you think a skill proficiency is worth more than I thought it was worth, you're not wrong. But what you will know is where the feat would have ranked using my system if skill proficiencies were scored with the values you thought they should have had. You're just going to have to do some light math. And one thing I've found during this exercise is some feats scored low, but I still thought that feat might be useful for a certain build or combined with very specific other features. So there are going to be some synergies that aren't accounted for. That means a low-ranked feat might still be a good feat for your specific build. Where I would caution you, though, is if there's a low-ranked feat that works for your build, just see if there's maybe a higher-ranked feat that does the same thing but better. Because I definitely notice some feats are pretty much obsolete because newer feats provide similar but better benefits. But these rankings are more general recommendations rather than how a feat works for a very specific character build. So this is the video that I'm going to be pointing to at the start of each of those feat ranking videos rather than go over the same stuff over and over. So here is what's to come. So I will be starting with the player's handbook feats. They are all going to be red with a black border looking like this. There are 42 feats, and I figured I could fit that into a 20 to 25 minute video because sometimes I'm really stupid. I honestly thought I could do 105 feats in 3 videos of fairly easy to consume lengths. And yeah, I didn't know what I was thinking. This ended up being a much bigger project than I expected to be. I was supposed to be done a week, 2 weeks ago. Though I also made some really dumb mistakes and had to redo the whole thing. This whole thing ended up being actually much more difficult than I expected. And the whole thing is around 2 hours of content after editing. So I'm going to be splitting it up into more digestible videos. So in my next video, I'm going to cover the first half of the Player's Handbook feats, and then the next will have the second half. That's 21 feats per video, and they're both going to be around the 20-minute mark in length. The third video is going to cover all the feats in Xanathar's Guide to Everything. These feats are going to be blue tokens with a red border, and that's going to help show where Xanathar's feats plays against Player's Handbook feats with a quick glance, as I'm going to be putting every feat on the same tier chart. It's going to be a very busy chart by the time we're done. In Xanathar's, they're all racial feats, and there are 15 total, and that's going to be a bit under 20 minutes. The fourth video is going to cover all the feats in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. These ones will be blue with a blue border. That's another 15 feats, and again the video should be under 20 minutes in length. The fifth video is going to cover all the feats from Dragonlance, Shadow of the Dragon Queen, as well as Bigby Presents Glory of the Giants. That's 9 feats from Dragonlance, they're going to be purple with a red border, and another 8 feats from Bigby's, and those are going to be purple with a green border. The whole video is going to be about 20 minutes. And then finally, the sixth video. That's going to cover mainly Planescape Adventures in the Multiverse. And while doing these rankings, I realized I never did a video covering these 7 feats. So that's going to be that video. These are going to be purple with a light blue border. And this video is going to have all the bits and bobs as well. We have 3 feats in Fizbins. They're going to be purple with a yellow border. We have 2 from Strixhaven, purple with white. 1 from the Book of Many Things. This is the hardest feat in the game to rank. But I ranked it. It's going to be purple with black. And then there are 2 Eberron feats. These are technically in 2 different books, but it's just 2 feats. So they're both this ugly purple and orange. I mean, I was running out of colors. And finally, this feat, which is legacy content now from the Elemental Evil Player's Companion. And I'm going to rank it anyways. And that is going to be a total of 105 feats. Now, I know some of you are quite happy consuming a 2-hour video, so I'll put these all in order in a playlist. So if you want to consume it all at once, you're going to be able to once all the videos are out. Or right now if you join my Patreon. The entire series is available to patrons of the channel right now if you like. Speaking of patrons, these are the patrons I'd like to thank today. By the way, if you're interested in joining, there's a link in the video description. Airhead, Alex R, Vo, Bloody Nine, Etherazone, CJ, Chris C, Coral, Dank Train, Dewey Cheatham and Howe, Douglas Reynolds, Dudis Noob, Eden the DM, Aaron, Eric Wasserman, Evan Getting, FBKO5, Gishlife, Heisenberger, Jay Gemmel, James Makla, James Sprague, Jean-Baptiste Blanchette, Jiruru, John Matera, Jonathan Zucker, Joseph Van Horn, Justin Times, Mark D, Math Guy Dave, Mr. Brett, Myconoid, PCZ, Quicksilver HG80, Ramen Goblin, Scott Parsons, Thunderlock, and William Whittles. Thanks so much. And until next time, I'm going to sit back, relax, and have some fun. D&D is for everyone. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.